in the recruiting world, the man himself, Andrew Bone. Andrew, how you doing tonight? We got some big news to talk about right away. Obviously, a huge decommitment out of Los Angeles on Sunday. But how's your past week been? And, this news with Domani Jackson, how did that find you this weekend?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, obviously, we're less than a month away from the early signing period. Things are starting to heat up. And, we know Alabama's currently sitting with 19 commitments and, not a lot of spots left. I still think there's probably going to be anywhere between, 9 to 10 more kids join this recruiting class. That's not to say there's going to be 29 commitments. I think there may be a few that end up falling out of the class, end up going elsewhere. But I still think there's probably about 9 or 10 more guys that will end up in Alabama's recruiting class at some point over the course. Maybe not before this early signing period, but either during the early signing period or maybe some will wait until February to decide. But it's starting to get really interesting, and we're going to be talking about a lot of those guys this evening. And we just knew kind of going into the season that just kind of wait, let things kind of play out. Let's see how things go with not just Alabama. We know how things typically go with Alabama. It's all about a lot of these other schools, and we've seen a lot of coaching changes already. We've seen coaches on the hot seat. We've seen different teams fall flat on their faces, and it's really opened up the door for Alabama with a lot of these recruits that they have been recruiting for a long time, but opens the door up even more for them now moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Guys, hit that like button for me as we get into the show tonight. Get your comments in there. We're going to take your questions at the end of the show. Bone will answer all of those. But, of course, a lot to talk about tonight. Before we get to that, Alabama now maybe in the driver's seat for the number one defensive back recruit in the country. Domani Jackson announced he was decommitting from USC. And like you said, some crazy coaching changes out on the West Coast there maybe led to this decision. But, at this point, is Alabama in the driver's seat to land this recruit?
Well, I think they are. He did take official visits to Alabama and Michigan this fall, and there was some talk about Michigan a little bit. He liked Michigan growing up, but was always a kind of a diehard USC fan. And we knew when he took that visit to Tuscaloosa back in June and spent 3 days at Alabama, there was some optimism. And I think with Alabama, they just wanted to make sure that they got him back on campus for an official visit, which they did a couple weekends ago for that LSU game weekend. And things were just, as good as they possibly could have been for Domani and his family. And he ends up reopening his recruitment on Sunday night. This was about a week after he came home from his official visit to Alabama. Now, he's come out and said that it's really an Alabama USC recruiting battle. Now, this was really kind of before he decommitted. Michigan's still in the mix a little bit, but in the end, I really like Alabama's chances here. I still think he's going to wait and see who's going to be that next head coach at USC. But the clock is ticking, and there's not a lot of time left between now and the early signing period when he does plan on signing his letter of intent. So you got to really like Alabama's chances there. And I think Jay Valai, Alabama's new defensive backs coach, has done a tremendous job recruiting him. Domani said this a few months ago in an interview that he talked to Coach Valai just about every single day. They were texting, messaging on social media or calls. So you knew when he said that the interest there with Alabama was very real. It wasn't just a once a week type of thing or, once every couple of weeks. This was an everyday thing. And once he came in to Tuscaloosa, felt the love, saw the, all the fans, saw the stadium, filled to the brim. I mean, and he mentioned this. He mentioned, going to USC games is just a lot different because it's not packed out. There's not a lot of fans there. There's not a lot of excitement, for the Trojans, and there hasn't been for a very long time. You can probably trace it back to the Reggie Bush years when people were really excited about USC and going out and seeing the games and seeing all the celebrities there and all that kind of stuff. I used to remember watching those USC games and who's going to be on the sideline tonight. And I think that's what was exciting about USC, along with everything else that came with it. But you know what you're getting with Alabama. You're going there to play football, to develop, and potentially go is in the first round of the NFL draft one day. And that's his goal. I mean, that's what he wants to do. He doesn't care about all this other stuff. He wants to be an NFL football player one day. He wants to have success at the college level and be the best player that he possibly can be. And that's why Alabama is right there at the top of his list, and I think they end up getting him when all is said and done.